What's going on, my soul family? Welcome back to another episode of the Awake with Jake show. It's been a while since I dropped in and did one of these. I've been spending a lot of time doing some really deep reflection of what I wanted to bring into the world, more into the world. And something that's recently come through that I've learned more and more about is what it means to be a strong, masculine man. Now, for those of you that know my story, you know that I grew up in a very broken household, a very unsafe environment. My nervous system felt like it was constantly being threatened. So I was in this fight or flight mode all the time. But I learned at a young age the misconceptions of what it means to be a strong man. I learned that feeling anything, any emotion, equals weakness. Vulnerability equals weakness. Any type of crying equals weakness. So I learned to basically repress all of my feelings, all of my emotions as a quote unquote man, to show up as strong and stoic. But you know what that led me to? Being emotionally numb, not being able to feel shit, especially when I started getting into relationships with women because I was numb. I was unavailable. I had taken all of my anger, all of my sadness, and stuffed it so deep down inside of myself that I didn't know how to feel. I was numb. And I think a lot of people in our society, men specifically, think that strength is numbness. Let me say that again. They think that strength equals numbness. It doesn't. It does not at all. Strength does not equal numbness because there's actually great strength in being able to feel. So recently, I started practicing jujitsu, which is a wonderful, amazing martial art that I have found great interest in. And I was working with somebody, and the first thing that he shared, he was a higher belt. The first thing that he shared with me is stop getting so tense. Because when you get tense, you can't feel yourself and you can't feel your opponent. And I found that so interesting. And I thought, wow, how we do that in life. And we as men, especially when we start to feel our anger or any type of discomfort, we tense right up and we close down or we blow up, which is a shield. We guard ourselves because we don't want to look weak. So we go into our big old ego and our pride and we prove other people wrong. We dominate other people. We control other people because that's what it means to be a strong man. And I'm saying this in quotes because this is what we've been taught as a strong man. But let me tell you something. That is the opposite of a strong man. That is a very weak man. A man who tries to control and dominate other people is a very weak man. A man that tries to control and repress and dominate other people is actually a very emotionally weak man because he uses his outer strength, maybe his physical strength, maybe his size, to control and repress other people to make them feel less than, to intimidate them, which is kind of like just a bully. And this is something that I experienced a lot in my life. I thought that that was a strong man to be able to dominate and control other people, to make other people afraid of you. And I can tell you right now that that aggression, that anger did not serve me. It actually did the opposite. It hurt me. It hurt me a lot. And I found myself at a point in my life where I was very unavailable. I was carrying a lot of anger, a lot of sadness, and I was very easily agitated. I would blow up at the littlest things. And what I learned about that through a lot of healing and self reflection is that people that are easily triggered are carrying a lot of trauma. Let me say that again. People that are very easily triggered are carrying a lot of trauma because that trauma is just waiting to be activated. So within the masculine nervous system, we tend to carry a lot of anger, a lot of anger. Maybe we had a really critical mother that we could never get it right with, or we had a father that was too hard on us, we were never good enough for. So, as a man, as you start to discover why you carry the pain you carry, you may start to unlearn and change the narrative that you have about what strong masculinity is. Because I'm about to share with you what real masculine strength is. And by the way, if you're a man looking to be with a woman, a feminine woman specifically, and you start to embody these masculine qualities I'm about to share with you, women find this very attractive. Okay. So if you are a man, a masculine man, and you're looking to be with a feminine woman, the only way to be successful with her is to learn how to embody these masculine qualities that I'm about to share with you. Now, this is not easy. I'm going to be very honest with you. I have spent years, almost a decade of doing this type of work, healing work, somatic work, breath work, meditation, all the shit you could imagine. I have done just about any healing modality you can imagine. And I've done it a lot because I'm the type of person, probably like yourself, if you're a masculine man, that gets very obsessed with mastery. I want to master things. I want to be very good at it because I don't like to just do things half-assed. I like to do things with full intention, full integrity. So the first thing I want to share with you is you can have strength and still be gentle. Okay? You can have strength and still be gentle. But if you are holding on to a lot of the shit that I was just talking about, the anger, the pain, the sadness, then it's going to be very hard for you to be gentle because you'll be very aggressive because you're easily agitated. So if you're in your ego, you're not going to be very compassionate of other people. You're not going to be able to feel other people's energy because you're going to be too tense and too rigid. So step number one is to ground yourself as a man, to become like the oak tree, to allow the wind to blow through your leaves. You can imagine it like the feminine winds blowing through your leaves, a woman's winds blowing through your leaves as you stay anchored and rooted into the ground. Maybe you get triggered. And the next time you get triggered, you become grounded. Instead of reacting, exploding, being impulsive, being confrontational, fighting with somebody, you become grounded. You become the pillar of grounded strength. You become the oak tree in that moment. Because remember, if you become ungrounded and you become hyper reactive or hypersensitive or impulsive or explosive or aggressive, you actually just gave away your power and you became emotionally weak. So if you want to stop being emotionally weak, and yes, I am challenging you right now because the masculine nature works very well through challenge. So I am challenging you in this moment. If you want to stop becoming or being emotionally weak, then you have to become first grounded. And how we become grounded is through the self-reflection, the self-awareness of the shit that we hold on to and releasing that and letting it go. So I'm asking you in this moment, what pain do you hold on to in your body that needs to be released? What anger do you carry? What unworthiness do you carry? What shame do you carry that needs to be released? And be honest with yourself right now. Be really honest with yourself because you can't be grounded if you're holding on to old pain. You cannot be grounded if you're holding on to old pain. It's very hard to be grounded when you're holding on to old pain. It's like the oak tree trying to be rooted when it's broken in half. It's just a matter of time before the oak tree snaps and falls over and keeps happening, keeps happening, keeps happening. Every little thing that triggers your fucking ego, you snap, you blow up. And that is weakness. That is weakness to react in that way. But what takes strength is being able to ground yourself to have healthy boundaries, to be clear with your direction, to be a compassionate leader. These things take strength. We have been programmed and conditioned toxic masculinity. And I'm sure you've heard plenty about toxic masculinity because that's just a term getting thrown around in this world. But we've been instilled with this toxic masculinity. Masculinity in itself is very strong, very grounded, very present, very aware. It is not this aggressive, controlling, dominating energy that you see being thrown around called masculinity. That is false masculinity. That is fake masculinity. That is bullshit masculinity. And I'm here to reiterate this narrative. So if you're here with me too, to become the protection that this world needs, to become the leadership that this world needs, to become the integrity that this world needs, you have to first put aside your ego. You have to get real with yourself. You have to see the pain that you carry. And that is when you begin to start to embody gentle strength. If you can practice embodying gentle strength, that is one thing that will begin to change your life as a man. The second thing I want to share with you, you can be a leader and not controlling. You can be a leader and not controlling. In fact, the best leaders, people don't even know they're leading. You see that? The best leaders, people don't even know they're leading. So, for example, if you're in a relationship with a woman and you're leading, she doesn't even know you're leading just because you're doing it so naturally. You're doing it so clear and so direct. Now, of course, there's gonna be moments when you're not clear and you're not direct and you're not confident. But if you could shoot for that 80% mark, 80% of the time you're clear with the direction, you're confident, you feel grounded. These things are what attract the feminine to you. That is polarity at one level. So, you can be strong and gentle. You can be a leader and not control other people, not tell people what they're going to do, because that's not healthy. When you start trying to control other people, when you start trying to dominate other people, once again, that is your pain speaking. That is your pain. That is that wounded boy inside of you that is speaking. And no one respects that. No woman wants to be controlled or told what to do. Doesn't feel right to her nervous system. In fact, if you start doing that with a strong woman, she's going to resist you. She's going to fight against that. She's not going to trust that energy that you're offering her. So, being a leader involves being compassionate of others, listening to others, learning how to read the energy of the room or the energy of the woman that you're working with. That is what it takes to be a good leader, to be compassionate, to listen while you lead. The next thing I want to share with you is you can feel and not be weak. Let me say that again. You can feel as a masculine man and not be weak. You can still hold that masculine frame. You can still be that rooted oak tree and feel your emotions. I'm not saying to spill your emotions all over the place and become emotionally explosive or pour your emotions all over everybody. What I'm saying is you can feel and not be weak. You realize that, right? You are allowed to feel. As a human, one of the things that we are incorporated with is our emotions, is our feelings. And a lot of times when you begin to feel, you'll start to notice there's a lot of shit in there you haven't dealt with. But once you clean that out, you're able to utilize those feelings, that intuition, that gut instinct that you get. Now, me personally, like I use my intuition all the time. And that's because I can feel my intuition. But most men are so distracted in their egos because they're not present. They're chasing the next high. And you know what I'm talking about by the next high, whether it's the pornography or the sex addiction or chasing the money or chasing the women, chasing the power, chasing the status, chasing the fame. This is exactly what I'm talking about. So most men are so distracted in all that ego bullshit that they don't allow themselves to feel. They're so stuck in their minds of chasing the next high that they don't allow themselves to feel. But it's in that feeling where you can begin to feel the shit that you've locked inside your body and release it. It's within that feeling that you'll be able to deeply connect and relate to the feminine essence. Because let me tell you something, brother. If you can't feel yourself, how are you going to feel a woman? Let me tell you something about women too. She can feel how connected with your heart you are. She can feel your level of presence. She can feel your level of integrity. She can feel your level of clarity, especially if she's connected to her intuition. Let me tell you something else. If she feels like you are disconnected from all of that, your integrity, your presence, she's not going to fully open to you. She's not going to fully surrender. She's not going to fully blossom to you because she wants to feel safe. She wants to be able to trust the masculinity that you are offering her. And if she doesn't, then she will begin to retract. She'll begin to close her flower petals. Now, once again, she has her own work to do. She has to work through the masculine wounds that she carries, the lack of trust that she has towards men, the insecurities that she has with men, to be able to trust her own nervous system, trust her own feminine essence to blossom and open. Because if she doesn't trust that, doesn't matter what you do, it doesn't matter how grounded you are, it doesn't matter how present you are, you can only help to inspire her radiance. You can't demand her radiance. You can't force her radiance. Let me say that again. You can only help to inspire her radiance. It is not your job to make her radiant. Her radiance is a light that comes from within. But you can inspire that with your grounded strength, with your presence, with your listening, with your leadership, with your protection, with your clarity. Are you with me? Are you listening now? Good. The next thing I want to talk with you about is confidence, which is you can be confident without being arrogant. There is a big difference, and I'm sure you've heard it throughout your life. There's a big difference between being humble and confident versus arrogant. And there's that fine line. True confidence doesn't say a lot. True confidence doesn't really need to speak a lot. In fact, you've probably heard that the loudest person in the room is often the weakest. They're really looking for that attention. They're really looking for that validation. The loudest person in the room is often the weakest because they're trying to prove themselves. Those who talk about it the most have it the least. Those who talk about it the most have it the least type mentality. So if you find yourself saying how badass you are and how strong you are and how many bitches you get, are you saying all that stuff because you want to be validated as a man? Trying to prove your masculinity to this world? Yeah, I'm challenging you right now. Are you saying those things because you don't really feel it within yourself? So you need to prove to other people because you were never validated as a little boy and you're still acting out your little boy trauma? I was like that. I was like that for a very long time. But what I realized is true confidence doesn't need to say a lot of words. True confidence is an energy. True confidence speaks with integrity. True confidence speaks with action. Your action aligns with your words. And you're selective with the words that you say. You're not reactive. You're not saying shit you don't mean. You're clear. You're processed. You're grounded. You're reflective. And with that, you develop masculine strength, masculine power. The last thing that I want to share with you is something that took me a really long time to understand, and it still feels uncomfortable at times, is you can cry and still be a man. Let me just say this one again. You can cry and still be a man. Now, this goes hand in hand with being able to feel as a man. So, one of the things that I found very therapeutic is allowing myself to really feel my anger, my hurt, my sadness, specifically towards my father, the anger that I carried towards him. And I began to practice internal forgiveness and letting that go towards the people that have hurt me, towards the people that have betrayed me, towards the people that have broken my trust. And with that came crying. came tears. Now, at first, I began to fight those back. I didn't want to feel my shit. I didn't want to look weak as a man. I didn't want to be vulnerable. But it was in that release and that crying that I actually became more grounded. I became more emotionally available because for a long time I was very emotionally numb. So the releasing of those tears was very therapeutic for me. Reminder, as a masculine man, you can still hold a masculine frame and allow yourself to feel your emotions. And if you carry a lot of pain, a lot of anger, you're going to cry. You might even yell, you might even scream. Now, I have done somatic work and all other kinds of healing shit over the years, and it almost always involved crying. So, if that tells you something, there is pain that's being released through the tears. The tears is like the trauma that's locked inside your body. So, when you start to feel those emotions, when you chisel away at the numbness and you begin to feel your deep rooted pain, you may start to feel a lot of emotion that comes up in the form of crying. You can cry and still be a strong masculine man. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I hope this brought you a ton of value. If it did, please take a screenshot of this episode, share it to your Instagram story, leave a comment on YouTube, wherever you listened or watched this episode. I'm just so grateful for you being here. If you would like to work with me in any capacity, please visit my website by going to jakewoodard.com. Just check out the courses that I offer, upcoming workshops and stuff like that. Once again, I love you. And as always, stay open, stay grounded, and stay connected to that powerful source within you.